Do people in the Middle Ages really have secret affairs? Were there whispers of forbidden passion behind castle walls and within silent monasteries from the 6th to the 15th century? You might be surprised. Number 9. Heloise and Abelard, the forbidden philosophers. The year is 1115. Paris is buzzing, a vibrant center of learning, but also a city of strict rules and societal expectations. The heart of it all stands Peter Abelard, a man whose mind is as sharp as a newly honed sword, and whose reputation as a brilliant philosopher and theologian echoes throughout. Students flock to his lectures, eager to absorb his radical ideas, his challenging questions about faith and reason. Abelard is not just respected, he is admired, even revered, and perhaps a little too confident in his own genius. He is a canon at Notre Dame, a man of the church sworn to a life that should exclude worldly attachments, especially romantic ones. Enter Heloise, a young woman of extraordinary intellect and beauty, living under the care of her uncle Canon Fulbert. She is known throughout Paris for her sharp mind, her mastery of Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, a rarity for any woman of her time, let alone one so young. Her thirst for knowledge is insatiable. Fulbert, immensely proud of his niece's intellectual prowess, seeks out the very best tutor for her. Who else but Peter Abelard, the undisputed master of dialectic and philosophy? He invites Abelard into his home, into the very same house where Heloise lives, creating an environment that seems destined for disaster. Abelard later recounted the beginning of their arrangement in his own writings, noting how Canon Fulbert, blinded by his pride in Heloise's gifts and his trust in Abelard's scholarly reputation, opened the doors wide. Abelard, for his part, admitted that his intentions quickly shifted from tutor to lover. He saw Heloise not just as a student, but as a woman whose intellect matched his own, a soulmate in a world where such connections were rare and precious. The initial lessons were merely a pretense. Their eyes met, their minds connected. And then a different kind of lesson began. Their secret meetings took place within the very walls of Fulbert's house, often under the guise of intellectual discussions. Abelard confesses that their books lay open, but their conversations turned to love. Their eyes darted between the text and each other. Their hands, meant to point to scholarly passages, instead found each other. Their passion grew, consuming them entirely. They would meet late at night, in the quiet hours when the household slept, their whispered conversations and shared moments illuminated only by the faint light of a lamp or the moonlight filtering through a window. These were dangerous games. If discovered, Abelard as a cleric faced severe punishment, and Heloise, a young woman, would face ruin and shame. The passion was undeniable, and their secrecy was a constant tension. Abelard wrote that they became so absorbed in their love that their study of philosophy completely stopped. They were lovers, not student and teacher. The house became their sanctuary, a place where they could steal moments, but also a cage where they had to be constantly vigilant. The servants, the neighbors, even Heloise's uncle himself remained oblivious, or at least pretended to be. But secrets, especially passionate ones, have a way of revealing themselves. The late nights, the hushed voices, the undeniable connection between them, signs began to emerge. Then came the shocking revelation. Heloise became pregnant. This was the ultimate proof of their forbidden love, a tangible consequence that could not be hidden away. Panic set in. Abelard, desperate to protect Heloise and their unborn child, and perhaps his own rapidly crumbling reputation, proposed a secret marriage. He knew the implications for his clerical career, but his love for Heloise, or perhaps his sense of duty, led him to this drastic step. Heloise, however, resisted. She argued against the marriage, not because she did not love him, but because she understood the devastating impact it would have on Abelard's future. She believed that a philosopher of his stature should not be burdened by a wife and family, that his true calling was to the intellectual life. Her words, recorded in their later correspondence, show a profound understanding of societal expectations. and a selfless devotion to Abelard's career. Despite her protests, Abelard insisted. They were married in secret, a hushed ceremony that very few knew about, a desperate attempt to legitimize their relationship and their child, even if only in the eyes of God and a handful of witnesses. The child, a son named Astrolabe, was sent away to be raised by Abelard's sister in Brittany, far from the prying eyes at Paris, a further layer of secrecy and separation for their new family. But Fulbert, Heloise's uncle, remained unaware of the marriage. He only knew of the shame and the illegitimate child. When he eventually discovered the truth that his trusted friend and tutor had seduced and impregnated his niece, his rage was boundless. Fulbert believed Abelard had dishonored his family and abandoned Heloise after their secret marriage. He wanted revenge, a brutal and horrifying act that would forever scar Abelard and send shockwaves through the intellectual world. Fulbert hired men who, in the dark of night, broke into Abelard's chamber. What followed was an act of brutal castration, a punishment meant to destroy Abelard's career, his manhood, and his ability to engage in further forbidden passions. This horrific event marked the end of their physical relationship, but not the end of their love or their connection. Abelard, utterly devastated and shamed, sought refuge in a monastery, becoming a monk. Heloise, deeply heartbroken but strong, also took vows and became a nun at the convent of Argenteuil, the very place she had been educated as a girl. They were separated by stone walls and vows, their secret love exposed, and brutally punished, their lives irrevocably altered. Yet their story did not end there. Years later, a collection of Abelard's personal letters, including an account of his misfortunes, fell into Heloise's hands. This sparked a new chapter in their relationship, a series of profound and poignant letters exchanged across the distance that separated them. These letters became their new secret meetings, their hidden moments of connection, revealing the enduring strength of their bond, their intellectual equality, and their undying affection. Heloise's letters expressed her deep love, her sorrow, her continued devotion, and her intellectual challenges to Abelard's theological views. Abelard's responses were a mixture of spiritual guidance, regret, and enduring affection. Through these written words, they revisited their past, debated theology, and shared their innermost thoughts and feelings. Their love, born in secrecy and punished with brutality, found its enduring form in the power of words, a testament to a connection that transcended physical presence and societal condemnation. Their story, preserved in their own words, continued to fascinate and move people for centuries. It remains a powerful example of a hidden love that defied expectations and faced devastating consequences. In the strict world of medieval Europe. Number 8. Isabella of France and Roger Mortimer, The Queen's Vengeance. The year is 1325. England is ruled by Edward II, a king known for his weakness and his preference for favorites over his duties. His queen, Isabella of France, is no ordinary consort. She is the daughter of Philip IV of France, known as the Fair, and a woman of considerable intelligence and spirit. But her marriage to Edward has been a disaster marked by his neglect, his lavish gifts to male companions like Piers Gaveston and Hugh Despenser, and a growing disrespect for Isabella herself. Edward's infatuation with the Despensers, father and son, reached scandalous levels, granting them immense power and wealth, alienating the nobility, and pushing Isabella to the brink. Isabella found herself increasingly isolated, her lands confiscated, her children separated from her, and her voice ignored. She was a queen without power, a wife without affection, and a mother whose children were in the hands of her husband's hated favorites. The atmosphere at court was thick with tension and distrust. King's erratic behavior and the Despenser's grasping ambition created a climate of fear and resentment among the English barons. It was during this period of growing desperation that Isabella saw an opportunity, a glimmer of hope for her own survival and the future of her children. In 1325, Isabella traveled to France on a diplomatic mission, ostensibly to negotiate a peace treaty with her brother, King Charles IV of France, over the disputed territory of Aquitaine. This journey across the English Channel was her escape, her chance to breathe free from the stifling control of Edward and the Despensers. It was in the vibrant French court that she encountered Roger Mortimer, a powerful and madding English baron who had been imprisoned in the Tower of London for his opposition, but who had managed a daring escape to France just a few years earlier. Mortimer was a man of action, a Minotic leader, and a formidable opponent of Edward II. He and Isabella shared a common enemy, a common desire for retribution against the king and his favorites. Their mutual hatred of the Despensers and their shared ambition for power quickly forged a bond between them. Historians often point to this period as the beginning of their passionate and politically charged affair. Their relationship began in secrecy, fueled by shared grievances and a desperate need for allies. They were both exiles in a way, both victims of Edward's tyranny, and together they found a common cause and a powerful attraction. Their secret meetings took place in the relative safety of the French court, away from Edward's spies. They would meet in private chambers, in secluded gardens, their conversations shifting from political strategy to personal comfort. Mortimer, a man of daring and conviction, offered Isabella the strength and support she desperately craved. Isabella, the neglected queen, found in Mortimer a partner who respected her intelligence and ambition, who saw her not just as a pawn, but as a crucial player in the Game of Thrones. Their love was intertwined with their political aims. Every whispered word, every clandestine encounter was a step towards their ultimate goal. The overthrow of Edward II and the Despensers, the French court provided a convenient cover. Isabella was the king's sister, and Mortimer a political refugee. Their closeness could be explained away as mutual support among exiles, but the rumors began to spread, fueled by whispers from English spies and the growing open defiance of Isabella towards her husband. She refused to return to England, claiming she would not do so as long as the Despensers remained in power. This public stance was a direct challenge to Edward, and it was widely understood that Mortimer was her confidant and partner in this rebellion. The affair, though initially secret, became an open secret among the European courts. Edward II sent furious letters demanding his wife's return, but Isabella, now emboldened by Mortimer's presence and the tacit support of her brother, defied him. She and Mortimer began to openly plot their invasion of England. They gathered a small force of mercenaries funded by Isabella's family and sympathetic exiles. Their meetings became less about whispered sweet nothings and more about military strategy, logistics, and rallying support. The stakes were incredibly high. Failure meant capture, torture, and execution. In September 1326, Isabella and Mortimer, with a small invasion force, landed on the English coast. They were met not with resistance, but with widespread support. The English nobility, fed up with Edward II and the Despensers, flocked to their banner. The king's regime crumbled with astonishing speed. Edward and the Despensers tried to flee, but they were quickly captured. Hugh Despenser, the younger, the king's detested favorite, was swiftly executed. A gruesome public spectacle that underscored the people's hatred. Edward II himself was imprisoned. Under pressure from Isabella and Mortimer, and a parliament they controlled, he was forced to abdicate in favor of his young son, Edward III. This was an unprecedented act in English history, a king deposed by his own queen and her lover. Isabella and Mortimer became the de facto rulers of England, governing in the name of the young Edward III. Their secret love had propelled them to the pinnacle of power. A scandalous and dangerous journey that had shattered the existing order. For a few years, Isabella and Mortimer ruled England. Their relationship, once a hidden love, was now plain for all to see. Mortimer accumulated vast lands and titles, acting with the authority of a king, while Isabella enjoyed the power she had so long been denied. But their reign was built on rebellion and excess. Mortimer's arrogance and greed, combined with their continued open relationship, bred resentment among the very nobles who had initially supported them. The young Edward III, growing up under their shadow, began to chafe at their dominance. In 1330, a mere 4 years after their triumph, Edward III, now 18 years old, orchestrated a daring coup. He surprised Mortimer and Isabella at Nottingham Castle. Mortimer was arrested, put on trial for treason, and swiftly executed, hanged at Tyburn just as Despenser had been. Isabella was spared, as she was the king's mother, but she was forced into retirement, effectively imprisoned in various castles and manor houses for the rest of her life. Her political influence was gone, her love affair brutally ended, her power stripped away. The hidden love that had sparked a revolution and overthrown a king had ultimately led to her lover's downfall and her own confinement. It remains a stark example of how personal passions could intertwine with political power, with explosive and tragic consequences in the unforgiving landscape of medieval England. Number 7. Catherine of Valois and Owen Tudor, the Queen's Welshman. The year is 1422. England is mourning the loss of a hero. King Henry V, the victor of Agincourt, has died suddenly, leaving behind a fragile peace with France and an infant son. The future Henry VI, his widow, Catherine of Valois, is just 21 years old, a French princess who came to England to marry the king and solidify a fragile peace. She is now the Queen Mother, a figure of immense prestige but limited actual power, subject to the dictates of the Regency Council governing for her young son. Her life as queen was brief, glorious, and now suddenly empty. Catherine is young, beautiful, and in a deeply vulnerable position. As the Queen Mother, she is a symbol of the monarchy and a link to the French throne. Her remarriage would be a matter of immense political importance, something the council would strictly control to prevent any foreign alliances or threats to the infant king. They knew a queen, even a widowed one, could be a dangerous pride. So they passed a statute in 1427-28, making it treason for anyone to marry a queen dowager without the consent of the king and council. This was meant to keep Catherine isolated and her future strictly managed. But love, or perhaps intense attraction, often finds a way to defy decrees and political maneuvering. Catherine found herself increasingly drawn to a young Welshman in her household, a man named Owen Tudor. He was not a nobleman of high birth, not a duke or an earl. He was a squire, a man of humble origins, probably from a minor landed family in Wales, who had joined the household of Henry V and later served Catherine. He was known for his good looks, his charm, and his athleticism. Some accounts suggest he caught Catherine's eye during a dance, or perhaps an accidental stumble that brought them close. Others say he was simply a constant, reassuring presence in her retinue. Their initial encounters would have been discreet, perhaps a lingering gaze, a whispered word that went unnoticed amidst the bustle of the royal court. Catherine, as Queen Mother, had her own apartments, her own staff, and a certain degree of privacy. Owen, as a member of her household, had legitimate reasons to be near her, serving her daily needs. These were the opportunities for their secret meetings, for stolen moments away from the prying eyes of the council and the watchful glances of her other attendants. No doubt their conversations would have started innocently enough, about court life, about Wales, about anything but their growing feelings, but their connection deepened. Queen, lonely and young, found comfort and passion in the Modic squire. Their relationship was a dangerous game. Discovery meant ruin for both of them, and for Owen it likely meant death. They were defying the very laws of the land, the rules set by the powerful men who governed England. Their trysts would have been carefully orchestrated, perhaps lit at night, after the court retired, or in secluded corners of her palaces, when the guard's attention was elsewhere. The thrill of the forbidden, the risk involved, would have only intensified their passion. The exact nature and timing of their marriage remained shrouded in secrecy, a testament to how well they kept it hidden. Historical records are scarce, and accounts vary. It is believed they married sometime around 1429, perhaps secretly, at Catherine's palace at Haydom, or in a quiet ceremony at Westminster Abbey that escaped public notice. This was a direct defiance of the 1427-28 statute. The marriage, if it happened, was likely not recognized by the council, effectively making them living in sin in the eyes of the law, and any children born to them illegitimate and without rights of succession. And they did have children, several of them. This was the ultimate evidence of their secret love and their hidden marriage. The birth of these children, including Edmund, Jasper, and Owen, would have been a massive challenge to keep secret. Royal births, even those of a queen dowager, were usually public affairs, attended by many witnesses to ensure legitimacy. To hide these births, Catherine would have had to retreat to private residences, perhaps feigning illness and relying on the utmost loyalty of a few trusted servants, midwives, and ladies-in-waiting. Each birth added another layer of risk, another reason for their secret to come tumbling out. The secret could not last forever. Eventually, rumors began to circulate about the Queen Mother's unusual companions and her growing family. The Regency Council for Henry VI, always suspicious of Catherine's independence, eventually became aware of her relationship with Owen Tudor. While the details of the discovery are not fully clear, it led to immediate and severe consequences. The council was outraged by the Queen Mother's defiance of their authority, and the scandal of her union with a mere squire. Owen Tudor was arrested in 1436. He was imprisoned first in Newgate Prison, then later in Windsor Castle. He managed to escape at one point but was recaptured. His freedom and even his life hung precariously in the balance. Catherine herself faced severe repercussions. She was confined to Bermondsey Abbey, a place of spiritual retreat that also served as a form of house arrest. Her children by Owen Tudor were separated from her, placed with various relatives and households, their royal lineage unacknowledged, their future uncertain. Catherine died in 1437, less than a year after Owen's imprisonment at the age of 35. Her death marked the official end of their secret love story. Owen Tudor, though imprisoned, outlived her and was eventually released. While their marriage was never officially recognized during Catherine's lifetime, their children, particularly Edmund and Jasper, would go on to play an extraordinary role in English history. Edmund Tudor married Margaret Beaufort, a descendant of Edward III. Their son was Henry Tudor. Henry Tudor, the grandson of the Welsh squire, Owen Tudor, and Queen Catherine of Valois, would eventually seize the English throne in 1485, becoming King Henry VII. He established the Tudor dynasty, one of the most powerful and long-lasting royal lines in English history. The secret love affair of a widowed queen and a charming squire, born out of defiance and hidden from the world, led to the creation of a new royal house. It shows how personal passion, even when hidden, could have profound and unexpected consequences, reshaping the very fabric of a nation's leadership in the distant future. Number 6. Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville, the king's secret wife. The year is 1464. England is in the throes of the Wars of the Roses, a brutal civil war fought between the houses of Lancaster and York. Edward IV, a monarchic, handsome, and victorious young king of the House of York, has just secured his throne after years of bloody conflict. He is in his early 20s, the most eligible bachelor in Europe, and his council, led by the powerful Earl of Warwick, the kingmaker, is eagerly arranging a politically advantageous marriage for him. The expectation is that Edward will marry a foreign princess, cementing an alliance with a powerful European nation and stabilizing his precarious new reign. But Edward IV, despite his youth, was a man of strong will and even stronger desires. He was known for his roving eye and his numerous mistresses. What no one expected, least of all his council, was that he would fall for a woman entirely unsuitable by the standards of the day, a woman with no great noble connections to bring power to his throne. This woman was Elizabeth Woodville. Elizabeth Woodville was not a princess, not a duchess, not even from a family of the highest nobility. She was the daughter of a mere knight, Sir Richard Woodville and Jacquetta of Luxembourg. While Jacquetta was of royal blood, Elizabeth's status was far from queenly. To make matters even more complicated, Elizabeth was a widow, a mother of 2 sons from her previous marriage to Sir John Grey of Groby, a Lancastrian knight who had died fighting against Edward's own side. All these factors made her a wholly unacceptable match for the King of England in the eyes of his advisors, yet Edward was captivated. Accounts vary on how they met. Some say Elizabeth directly approached him, throwing herself at his feet to beg for the return of her deceased husband's lands for her sons. Others suggest a more conventional meeting at court. Regardless of the initial encounter, Edward was smitten. He sought her out, spent time with her, and quickly fell deeply in love. His powerful infatuation stood in direct opposition to his political obligations and the carefully laid plans of his council. Their secret meetings were born out of necessity. The king could not openly court a woman like Elizabeth without causing immediate scandal and opposition from his powerful allies, especially Warwick, who was actively negotiating a French alliance through marriage. So Edward and Elizabeth met in clandestine fashion away from the prying eyes of the court. They would meet in secluded manor houses away from London, or perhaps in quiet corners of royal palaces where the usual retinue was dispersed. These encounters were not just romantic assignations. They were also the moments when Edward made a momentous decision, one that would shock his entire kingdom. On May 1st, 1464, in a quiet, secret ceremony, Edward IV married Elizabeth Woodville. The location is believed to have been Grafton Regis in Northamptonshire. The Elizabeth's family home, only a handful of people were present. Elizabeth's mother, a priest, and perhaps 1 or 2 trusted attendants. The secrecy surrounding this marriage was absolute. It was a king marrying a commoner, a king defying the very principles of dynastic marriage that underpin his rule. This act was not just romantic, it was politically revolutionary and, incredibly, if discovered prematurely, it could have plunged his kingdom back into chaos or cost him his throne. For several months, the marriage remained a closely guarded secret. Edward continued to behave as if he were single, allowing Warwick to continue his negotiations for a foreign bride, potentially even setting up the embarrassment of a final agreement that the king would then have to refuse. Tension for Edward and Elizabeth must have been immense, living a double life. Every public appearance, every courtly event, was a performance to maintain the illusion of the bachelor king. Their secret marriage was a hidden love, known only to a precious few, a bold gamble against the conventions of their time. The secret was finally revealed in September 1464, just a few months after the ceremony. Edward, perhaps tired of the charade or emboldened by his growing power, suddenly announced his marriage to Elizabeth. The reaction was one of stunned disbelief, followed by anger and resentment. Warwick, who had been negotiating Edward's marriage to Bona of Savoy, Louis XI's sister-in-law, was humiliated and furious. The English nobility, who had expected a powerful foreign alliance, felt slighted and concerned about the rising influence of the upstart Woodville family. The consequences were immediate and far-reaching. The Woodville family, previously of minor importance, suddenly rose to immense power and influence at court, much to the chagrin of the established nobility. Elizabeth's brothers and sisters were married into prominent noble families, and her sons from her first marriage were given significant titles. This rapid ascent created deep divisions and fueled animosity towards the king and his new queen. Warwick, feeling sidelined and betrayed, eventually turned against Edward, switching his allegiance to the Lancastrian cause and plunging England back into civil war. The secret marriage, initially a passionate defiance of convention, became a catalyst for renewed conflict. Edward was briefly deposed in 1470 by Warwick and a resurgent Lancastrian force forced to flee England, a direct consequence of the resentments his marriage had created. He eventually returned and reclaimed his throne, but the bitterness lingered. The reign of Edward IV, marked by his love for Elizabeth Woodville, ultimately created instability that would have tragic consequences for his children, the princes in the Tower, and lead to the eventual rise of the Tudors. Their hidden love born in secrecy reshaped the English royal line and left an indelible mark on the course of English history. A testament to a king's willingness to risk everything for the woman he loved. Number 5. Tristan and Isolde, the unbreakable bond. This is a tale that echoed through the castles and courts of medieval Europe. A story of forbidden love, destiny, and the agonizing struggle between duty and passion. While its origins are debated and its details vary across numerous medieval versions, the legend of Tristan and Isolde was incredibly popular from the 12th century onwards, shaping ideas of courtly love and tragic romance. It is not a tale from historical chronicles, but a powerful narrative that illuminated the human heart in the Middle Ages. The story begins in Cornwall, a land of rugged coasts and ancient traditions. King Mark of Cornwall, a just and noble ruler, is advised by his nobles to take a wife and secure his succession. Mark, however, has a beloved nephew, Tristan, a skilled knight, warrior, and harper, who is fiercely loyal to his uncle. Tristan is sent to Ireland to fetch the beautiful Princess Isolde, the fair daughter of the Irish king, to be Mark's bride. This journey across the treacherous seas sets the stage for their tragic destiny. Before the voyage, Isolde's mother, the Irish queen, prepares a powerful love potion for Isolde and Mark to drink on their wedding night. This potion, a magical concoction, is meant to bind them in an unbreakable lifelong love. But fate intervenes. On the journey back to Cornwall, aboard the ship, Tristan and Isolde, by accident, mistake the love potion for wine. They drink it together, sharing the powerful draught. The moment the potion enters their bodies, their destinies are sealed. They fall instantly, irrevocably, and uncontrollably in love. Their love is forbidden, a profound betrayal of King Mark, Tristan's uncle, and Isolde's intended husband. Yet the potion's magic is absolute. They are bound by an unbreakable spell, forced to pursue their passion despite the crushing weight of their obligations. Their relationship becomes a desperate game of secrecy, a constant negotiation with danger and discovery. They must hide their true feelings from Mark, from the court, from everyone. Their secret meetings take place in remote corners of the castle, in the shadows of the forest, or in secluded hunting lodges. Each encounter is fraught with tension and the thrill of the forbidden. They steal moments, whispering vows of love, their hearts pounding not just from passion, but from fear of exposure. The story emphasizes their ingenuity in devising ways to be together, often aided by Brangane, Isolde's loyal handmaiden, who is forced to become an accomplice in their dangerous game. She even risks her own life to help them maintain their deception, swapping places with Isolde on the wedding night to hide Isolde's lost virginity from Mark. One of the most iconic secret meetings involves a hidden rendezvous in a forest. Tristan and Isolde, believing they are safe from prying eyes, meet under a tree. King Mark, suspicious of their closeness and fueled by the whispers of his envious courtiers, follows them. He finds them asleep with a sword between them, a symbol of their chastity, and a clever ruse to deflect suspicion. Mark, seeing the sword, is convinced of their innocence and his courtier's malice. This scene, however, reveals the constant threat under which they lived, the ever-present danger of their secret being unmasked. Another crucial secret meeting occurs when Tristan is forced into exile after their affair is finally revealed, or nearly so, by the cunning courtiers. He cannot bear to be without Isolde and devises a way to communicate with her. Carves a message onto a hazel branch, a coded signal that Isolde, upon seeing it, understands. This desperate act of communication, a hidden message in plain sight, allows them to arrange another clandestine meeting, perhaps in a hidden chapel or secluded clearing. Their love thrives on these stolen moments, on their ability to defy the constraints placed upon them. Consequences of their hidden love are profound and ultimately tragic. Their affair causes immense pain to King Mark, a good man who genuinely loves both his wife and his nephew. It tears apart the court, creates factions, and leads to banishment for Tristan Isolde's forced separation from her true love, and an unending cycle of yearning and despair. Tristan eventually leaves Cornwall, travels to Brittany, and marries another Isolde of the White Hands, but his heart remains with Isolde the Fair. This marriage is one of name only, a testament to his enduring love for the first Isolde, and it brings no comfort. Culmination of their tragic tale often involves Tristan being mortally wounded. He sends for Isolde the Fair, hoping she can heal him. The signal for her arrival is a white sail on the returning ship. A black sail as she is not coming. Isolde of the White Hands, out of jealousy, tells Tristan that the sail is black. Even though it is white, Tristan dies of heartbreak before Isolde the Fair arrives. She, finding him dead, dies of grief beside him. The legend of Tristan and Isolde, with its passionate secret meetings and its heart-wrenching hidden love, became a foundational story for the concept of courtly love in the Middle Ages. It explores themes of destiny, honor, betrayal, and the overwhelming power of love that defies all social and moral boundaries. It shows how even a magical potion could not prevent the tragic consequences of a love that was destined to remain hidden and forbidden, leaving behind a legacy of eternal yearning and sorrow that resonated through centuries of medieval storytelling. Number 4. Lancelot and Guinevere, The Betrayal at Camelot. This is arguably the most famous and devastating hidden love affair in all of medieval literature. A story that became central to the Arthurian legends and profoundly influenced the concept of courtly love. Like Tristan and Isolde, the tale of Lancelot and Guinevere is a legend, not a historical account, but it was incredibly real and influential in the minds of medieval people, who debated its moral implications and admired its tragic romance. It illustrates the destructive power of forbidden desire within the highest echelons of a kingdom. The story unfolds at Camelot, the legendary court of King Arthur, a realm of chivalry, honor, and the noble quest for the Holy Grail. King Arthur is a virtuous and idealized monarch, surrounded by his loyal knights of the Round Table, the epitome of medieval knighthood. Among these knights, one stands above all others, Sir Lancelot, a foreign prince from France, known for his unmatched bravery, his incredible strength, and his unwavering loyalty to Arthur. Queen Guinevere, Arthur's wife, is described as beautiful, intelligent, and a powerful figure. In her own right, from the moment Lancelot arrives at Camelot, a powerful attraction sparks between him and Guinevere. It is a love that blossoms, despite the sacred bonds of marriage and loyalty that tie them both to King Arthur. Their feelings are intense, consuming, and utterly forbidden. They are both honorable people in their own ways, trying to uphold their vows, but the pull between them is too strong to resist. Their relationship begins with subtle glances, lingering conversations, and a growing intimacy that goes beyond mere friendship. Their secret meetings take place in the most dangerous of locations, within the very walls of Camelot itself, under the watchful eyes of Arthur's court. These clandestine encounters are fraught with peril, a constant game of deception. They meet in private chambers late at night, in secluded gardens when others are sleeping, or during hunts when they can slip away from the main party. Each moment stolen together is a risk, a thrill, and a deepening of their forbidden bond. They exchange passionate words, tender gestures, and shared confidences that only a lover could receive. Lancelot's devotion to Guinevere is absolute. He performs incredible feats of chivalry in her name, winning tournaments, rescuing damsels, and proving his valor, all while keeping the true inspiration for his deeds, a secret. He is her champion, her protector, and her lover. Guinevere, in turn, lavishes her favor upon him, sometimes subtly, sometimes more overtly, making other knights at court jealous and suspicious. Their hidden love casts a shadow over the idealized court of Camelot, introducing an element of hypocrisy and moral compromise into the heart of Arthur's reign. The story highlights several iconic secret meetings. One famous episode involves Lancelot sneaking into Guinevere's chambers at night, often crossing dangerous obstacles or climbing walls to reach her. These daring feats emphasized the lengths to which he would go to be with her, underlining the intensity of their hidden passion. Another moment of extreme intimacy occurs when Lancelot is wounded and Guinevere secretly nurses him back to health, their private moments a dangerous luxury. In the midst of a bustling court, the court, however, is not blind. Many of Arthur's knights, especially the jealous and morally rigid ones like Sir Agravain and Sir Mordred, the king's illegitimate son, begin to suspect the truth. They watch Lancelot and Guinevere with growing suspicion, gathering evidence, listening to whispers. They know the secret is there lurking beneath the surface of Camelot's glittering facade. They conspire to catch the lovers in the act, to expose their betrayal and bring down Lancelot, whom they resent for his unparalleled prowess and his favored position. The eventual revelation of their affair is catastrophic. The knights, led by Agravain and Mordred, finally corner Lancelot in Guinevere's chamber. Lancelot, a warrior par excellence, even when caught unprepared, fights his way out, killing several knights in the process. But the secret is out. The queen is implicated, and her honor and the honor of the entire kingdom is shattered. The consequences are devastating for all involved. Guinevere is condemned to be burned at the stake for treason and adultery, a brutal punishment for her transgression. Lancelot, unable to abandon his love, rescues her from the pyre, an act that further enrages Arthur and leads to open war between Lancelot and the king. The Knights of the Round Table are fractured, forced to choose sides between their king and their greatest champion. The noble fellowship painstakingly built by Arthur dissolves into bitter conflict. This internal strife provides an opportunity for Arthur's treacherous nephew Mordred to seize the throne in Arthur's absence, leading to the final bloody battle of Camlan. King Arthur is mortally wounded and the glorious kingdom of Camelot falls. Lancelot and Guinevere are left with the crushing burden of their actions. Guinevere retreats to a convent, spending her remaining days in repentance. Lancelot, consumed by guilt and sorrow, becomes a hermit, living out his life in penance. The hidden love of Lancelot and Guinevere, born of passion and sustained by daring secrecy, ultimately led to the downfall of a kingdom and the tragic end of an era of chivalry. It served as a powerful medieval cautionary tale about the dangers of illicit love, the fragility of loyalty, and the devastating impact of personal desires on the fate of entire nations. It remains a timeless story of love, betrayal, and the ruin that can follow when the heart defies the crown. Number 3. Marie de France's Lanval, the Knight and His Fairy Mistress. In the realm of medieval literature, the tales written by Marie de France, one of the earliest known female French poets, stand out for their exploration of courtly love, magic, and often secret relationship. Her Lays, short narrative poems composed in the late 12th century, offered vivid glimpses into the complexities of love and loyalty. One of her most captivating stories, Lanval, centers around a knight's hidden love for a powerful and mysterious fairy mistress, a relationship that must remain a secret to survive. The story begins in the glittering yet often unkind court of King Arthur. Lanval is a noble knight, known for his valor and generosity. However, he is overlooked by King Arthur, who seems to favor others, and he is without wealth or land, which means he is also ignored by many of the other knights. While other knights are rewarded, Lanval receives nothing, leaving him isolated and lonely, despite his inherent goodness. This isolation sets the stage for his extraordinary encounter. One day, while riding alone in the forest, deep in thought about his misfortunes, Lanval encounters two beautiful maidens. They lead him to a magnificent pavilion hidden deep within the woods, where he finds their mistress, a lady of unparalleled beauty and wealth, dressed in robes of ermine and purple. She is a fairy, a supernatural being of immense power and allure, and she immediately offers Lanval her love and her boundless riches. This is the beginning of their hidden love affair. Her offer comes with a crucial condition. Their love must remain a complete secret. Lanval must never reveal her existence to anyone, especially not to the court. If he breaks this vow, she warns, he will lose her forever, and all the magical wealth and happiness she brings him will vanish. This condition establishes the core tension of their relationship, a blissful, powerful love that can only exist in utter secrecy. Their secret meetings are enchanting and surreal. The fairy lady is able to visit Lanval wherever he is, simply by willing it. She appears to him in his chambers, bringing with her an aura of magic and the scent of exotic flowers. They meet in secluded places, away from human eyes. Her appearance is sudden and miraculous. She bestows upon him endless riches, gold, jewels, splendid horses, and fine armor, all of which appear as if from nowhere, allowing him to regain his status and generosity at Arthur's court without anyone knowing the source of his newfound prosperity. These magical gifts further highlight the extraordinary and hidden nature of their bond. Lanval returns to court a changed man, no longer poor or overlooked. He becomes a generous and admired figure, his unexplained wealth sparking curiosity but no immediate suspicion. His happiness, however, is a secret joy known only to him and his magical mistress. The danger to their love is ever present, lurking in the shadows of human jealousy and gossip. The inevitable challenge to their secret comes from Queen Guinevere herself. Seeing Lanval's newfound prosperity and noting his detachment from the ladies of the court, she attempts to seduce him. When Lanval, out of loyalty to his fairy mistress, politely declines her advances, Guinevere is enraged and insulted. She accuses him of being unworthy of love and, in a fit of pique, declares that he cannot be interested in any woman, implying his lack of masculinity. In his desperation to defend himself and prove his devotion to love, Lanval makes the fatal mistake. He boasts that he loves a lady so beautiful and noble that even Guinevere's meanest servant is more beautiful than the queen. This boast, a direct violation of his vow of secrecy, immediately brings the wrath of Guinevere upon him. She complains to King Arthur, accusing Lanval of insulting her and attempting to seduce her. Arthur, outraged by the perceived insult to his queen, puts Lanval on trial for treason. Lanval, stripped of his magical wealth and left vulnerable, has no one to call upon, no proof of his mysterious lady's existence. He has broken his vow, and his fairy mistress has vanished. His only hope is that she might appear to save him, but he fears he has lost her forever. During the trial, as Lanval faces certain condemnation, two maidens suddenly appear riding on beautiful white palfreys, demanding hospitality for their lady, who is coming to save Lanval. They are the same maidens who first led him to his fairy love. Their appearance brings hope and a sense of wonder to the court. Then the fairy mistress herself appears, riding a magnificent white palfrey, more beautiful than any woman anyone has ever seen. Her arrival is a dramatic public revelation of the secret love that Lanval had kept hidden. Presence alone is enough to prove Lanval's innocence and the truth of his claims. She publicly acknowledges their love and confirms his worthiness. She then leaves the court, taking Lanval with her. He leaps onto her palfrey, and they ride away together, disappearing into a magical realm, never to be seen again in the human world. The story of Lanval and his fairy mistress. A vibrant example from medieval literature, shanks the allure and peril of a hidden love that transcends social boundaries and relies entirely on secrecy. It explores the themes of fidelity, temptation, and the consequences of breaking a sacred vow. It suggests that true love, especially a magical one, can only exist outside the rigid confines of human society. A clandestine paradise that must remain utterly concealed to preserve its magic and its existence. Number 2. Peter the Cruel and Maria de Padilla, the king's true queen. The year is the mid-14th century, a time of political instability and shifting alliances in the Iberian Peninsula. Castile is ruled by Peter I, a king whose reign would earn him the moniker Peter the Cruel, or the Just, depending on who was writing the history. He was known for his ruthlessness, his sudden bursts of violence, but also for his strong will and his efforts to centralize royal power. Despite his turbulent public life, Peter harbored a deep, enduring, and ultimately devastating hidden love that shaped his personal life and political decisions for decades. This love was for Maria de Padilla, a woman of noble but not royal birth, who entered Peter's life around 1352. She was known for her beauty, her intelligence, and her gentle disposition, qualities that seemed to offer a calming influence on the volatile young king. Their connection was immediate and profound. Peter, a man of intense emotions, fell deeply in love with Maria, a love that would last for the rest of his life, despite his numerous political marriages. Their relationship began as a clandestine affair, hidden from the public eye. Peter was already betrothed, or soon to be married, to Blanche of Bourbon, a French princess, as part of a crucial political alliance. For a king, a formal marriage was a matter of state, not personal affection. His love for Maria de Padilla was a private matter, a hidden passion that stood in stark contrast to his public duties. Their secret meetings would have taken place in private royal residences, in secluded chambers within the palace, or perhaps during hunts, when Peter could slip away with Maria without raising immediate suspicion. Maria would have lived discreetly within the court, perhaps as a lady-in-waiting, her true relationship with the king, known only to a trusted few. Every whispered word, every shared moment was a risk, a defiance of political protocol and social expectation. A crucial turning point came when Peter went through with his arranged marriage to Blanche of Bourbon in 1353. It was a purely political union, and Peter's heart remained with Maria. King's behavior after the marriage was astonishing and scandalous. He abandoned Blanche almost immediately after the wedding, refusing to consummate the marriage and effectively repudiating her. He returned to Maria de Padilla, acknowledging her as his true love and incredibly treating her as his queen in all but name. This open preference for Maria and his blatant abandonment of Blanche ignited a firestorm of political and social outrage. Castilian nobility was horrified, the French court was insulted, and the church was scandalized. Yet Peter defied them all. He openly lived with Maria, showering her with affection and lands, and she bore him several children: Beatrice, Constanza, Isabel, and Alfonso. These children, born out of wedlock in the eyes of the church and the international community, were nevertheless acknowledged and cherished by Peter, treated them as legitimate heirs, a shocking disregard for convention. While their relationship was no longer entirely hidden, after the abandonment of Blanche, it became a de facto secret marriage in Peter's mind, a hidden legitimacy that he stubbornly asserted against all opposition. He reportedly claimed to have secretly married Maria before Blanche, thus making his marriage to Blanche null and void. This secret marriage, whether it truly happened or was a later invention to justify his actions, was the legal and moral basis for his extraordinary devotion. It became the hidden truth that Peter held onto, even as he was forced to engage in other political marriages to secure alliances or male heirs. Peter's open defiance regarding Maria de Padilla led to a bitter civil war with his half-brother Henry of Trastamara, who capitalized on the widespread discontent over Peter's personal life and his tyrannical rule. Castilian nobility, Disgusted by Peter's treatment of Blanche and his favoritism towards Maria and her family, flocked to Henry's banner. Maria de Padilla herself became a symbol of Peter's defiance and the source of much of the scandal that plagued his reign. Despite the chaos and constant warfare, Peter's devotion to Maria never wavered. He would return to her side whenever he could, seeking solace and comfort. Her death in 1361 devastated him. In a dramatic public gesture, Peter declared that Maria had been his true and only lawful wife, and that he had been secretly married to her before his union with Blanche. He presented witnesses to this secret ceremony, though many believed it was a fabrication. He then had her children declared legitimate heirs to the throne, a highly controversial move. He even had her remains exhumed and reinterred with full royal honors in the royal pantheon at Seville, treating her as a queen who had died in office. Peter the Cruel eventually lost his throne and his life to his half-brother Henry in 1369, but his hidden love for Maria de Padilla left an indelible mark on Castilian history. Two of their daughters, Constanza and Isabel, went on to marry into the English royal family, becoming duchesses in England. Constanza's daughter, Catherine of Lancaster, married Henry III of Castile, uniting the Trastamara and Padilla lines, and bringing a descendant of Peter I back to the Castilian throne. The story of Peter the Cruel and Maria de Padilla is a testament to a love so powerful it defied political necessity, societal condemnation, and even the church. It shows how a king known for his harshness could be utterly devoted to one woman, treating her as his true queen, in a hidden marriage, and facing constant conflict to uphold her honor and the legitimacy of their children. It is a powerful example of how personal passion could intertwine with public duty, with explosive and lasting consequences in the tumultuous medieval world. Number 1. Margaret of Anjou and Edmund Beaufort, Duke of Somerset, the Queen's alleged lover. The mid-15th century in England was a period of intense political unrest, marked by the escalating tensions that would erupt into the Wars of the Roses. The heart of this storm was Queen Margaret of Anjou, wife of the pious but increasingly ineffective King Henry VI. Margaret was a strong, determined, and politically astute woman who found herself fighting fiercely to preserve the Lancastrian dynasty against the rising power of the House of York. Her life was dominated by political maneuvering, military campaigns, and the struggle to protect her mentally fragile husband and her young son. It was in this atmosphere of extreme pressure and suspicion that rumors of a secret hidden love affair began to circulate around Queen Margaret. The alleged lover was Edmund Beaufort, 2nd Duke of Somerset. Somerset was a prominent Lancastrian nobleman, a fierce loyalist to Henry VI, and a military commander who served closely with the Queen during their joint efforts to maintain Lancastrian control. He was also a member of the powerful Beaufort family, a legitimate but formerly illegitimate branch of the royal line with their own claims to the throne. The nature of their relationship, whether it was purely political allegiance, a deep personal friendship, or indeed a passionate love affair, remains one of the most debated and scandalous questions of the Wars of the Roses. There is no definitive, undeniable proof of a physical relationship in contemporary documents, but the whispers were persistent, powerful, and ultimately damaging to the Queen's reputation. The context of these rumors was critical. King Henry VI, Margaret's husband, was known for his extreme piety, his gentle nature, and crucially, for periods of mental illness during which he was completely unresponsive and unable to govern. During one such prolonged illness, in 1453, a critical event occurred. Queen Margaret gave birth to her only son, Edward, Prince of Wales. This birth, coming during a period of the king's profound incapacity, immediately fueled suspicions who was the father. The Yorkist faction, eager to discredit the Lancastrian line and challenge the legitimacy of the royal succession, seized upon these circumstances. They circulated rumors openly questioning the paternity of Prince Edward and suggesting that he was not the son of King Henry VI, but of the Duke of Somerset. These accusations, though never proven, became a powerful political weapon against Queen Margaret and her allies. If the prince was illegitimate, the entire Lancastrian claim to the throne was undermined. Their secret meetings, if they happened, would have been cloaked in the guise of political strategy and shared governance. Margaret and Somerset were constantly together discussing military plans, rallying support, and making decisions in the king's absence. These interactions, while outwardly professional, provided ample opportunity for a hidden love to blossom. Perhaps they met in private chambers during campaigns or in secluded areas of castles where they were stationed. Every late-night discussion, every quiet conversation could have been interpreted as something more intimate by watchful eyes. The accusations of their affair were hurled openly by their enemies. Richard, Duke of York, the leading claimant to the throne from the House of York, frequently implied Margaret's infidelity and Edward's illegitimacy. In the highly charged political atmosphere, these accusations were not just personal insults. They were direct challenges to the authority of the Queen and the stability of the crown. The rumors persisted despite the absence of direct evidence. Consequences of this alleged hidden love were immense and devastating for the Lancastrian cause. The accusation of the Prince of Wales's illegitimacy created deep divisions among the nobility and provided a strong moral and legal justification for the Yorkists' rebellion. It undermined the public's confidence in the royal line and fueled the ongoing civil war. Margaret, already seen as a fiercely independent and politically aggressive woman, became even more reviled by her enemies, who depicted her as an adulterous queen and a treacherous mother. Somerset, deeply loyal to Margaret and Henry VI, remained at the heart of the Lancastrian struggle. He was a key figure in the early battles of the Wars of the Roses, including the First Battle of St. Albans in 1455, where he was killed. His death further intensified the conflict, but the rumors connecting him to Margaret persisted long after. Margaret, despite the relentless attacks on her character and her son's legitimacy, fought relentlessly for her son's right to the throne. She became the driving force of the Lancastrian resistance, leading armies, negotiating with foreign powers, and never yielding. The hidden love, whether real or fabricated by her enemies, placed an immense burden on her shoulders, forcing her to contend not only with military and political adversaries, but also with deeply personal and damaging accusation. Her son, Edward, Prince of Wales, was killed in battle in 1471, and Margaret herself was captured and imprisoned. She eventually returned to France, dying in exile. The hidden love, or the strong rumor of it, involving Margaret of Anjou and Edmund Beaufort, Duke of Somerset, remains a dark and intriguing footnote in the history of the Wars of the Roses. It demonstrates how even an alleged secret affair, never fully proven but widely believed by contemporaries, could be weaponized by political enemies, shaking the foundations of a kingdom and contributing to one of the most tumultuous periods in English history, leaving a legacy of doubt and unanswered questions about the true parentage